Ha!
Chanel, growing up, did your mom teach you to talk to strangers?
No, she refused that I would talk to strangers. I wasn't even allowed to go down the road to ask the neighbors for collection when we had a fundraising at school. So no, I was not. I wasn't even allowed to talk to people I knew, never mind people, strangers.
Were you allowed to roam the neighborhood to play outside on your bike without supervision?
No, not without supervision. My brother, yes, but I think he did it without asking. Me, on the other hand, I was a house hen. I stayed inside. I felt safer there.
So I heard recently that almost no kids get to do that anymore.
Mm.
We used to do it. We took our bikes and we went wherever. It was a long time ago and it was not unsafe. No, it was probably a bit unsafe, but nothing happened, so we weren't scared.
Mm.
And you just went and you found whoever you found, the kids in the neighborhood, and you played with it. But now, apparently, things don't work that way. Everything is organized. Kids only get to play with other kids if there's an arranged play date and somebody taking care of them, which feels like a bit of a shame, really.
Why? Why would you say that's the case?
Because that is how real life works. When you're an adult, you don't get everything prearranged for you to go and do a play date or to go do how do you interact with other people. So I think we miss out on learning interpersonal skills if the world is so sanitized and organized and you don't have to have the ability to think on your toes and to go into environments where you don't know anybody.
It's quite interesting. So having two smaller kids and being in this environment where it isn't particularly safe for kids to be, playing around in the streets, we are fortunate enough to stay in a bit of a security environment where the kids are allowed to ride their bikes. And it was interesting at first, they were both very hesitant because of it being quite new to them. But also, when we went on holiday and we were in a specific place where we felt it was safe, we'd let them go and ask for something to drink at the restaurant and then come back to the table and say they've ordered their drink with the waiter. And it was very scary for them because they're not allowed to do that in our typical environment. It's not something that is encouraged. And I don't think it's necessarily just a safety thing. I think it's also a comfort thing for a lot of parents because it's easier just to keep them close by you. You feel better about it. But I saw the impact that it had on specifically my eldest daughter when we encouraged her and told her that we trust her to make the right decisions and we trust her to know the rules to work with her bike. So she knows where she's allowed to ride and where she's not allowed to ride. And it made such a difference in terms of her self-esteem. So she's not a very confident child. And I actually noticed straight after her being given the opportunity to do it, she embraced the opportunity and she started looking for more opportunities to step up. And I think when you speak about the emotional intelligence, I don't think it's just that. I also think it's something to do with confidence. When we engage with people and we learn that it's okay when people reject us or say no, or we engage with people and we actually get the smile back, it actually does build and feed our self-confidence. Funny additional story is my husband likes running. And this weekend, he said he went for a run not this weekend, yesterday. And he went for a quick run and he said he did an experiment. So every time he would run past a person, he would smile broadly and then they would typically smile back. And then the next person he'd run past, he wouldn't smile at all. And then they would just ignore him. And I think that's quite an interesting, addition to kids need to learn that skill as well. They need to learn how to interact with people so that people actually do want to interact with them.
Absolutely. So I had a cool experience the other day. We went to the Postnet. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my son had to get stuff printed for school. And there's a guy standing there in a very nice suit. And like a guy in a suit where we stay is not normal. Because we stay close to the beach, people wear flip-flops at best. And obviously I'm going to talk to this guy because I want to know, why are you dressed like this? And I say to him, and he's a stranger, I don't know who he is. And I said to him, nice suit. And we strike up a conversation. And it turns out he's getting married on the beach. He's actually late for his own wedding because he forgot to make photocopies of his bride's IDs. And the guy who's doing the ceremony can't carry on before they have the paperwork. So he's standing there waiting for the people to do all the printing and signing and whatever so that he could go and get married. And they came from Gauteng to get married here. And it was just cool to talk to this guy for 5 minutes. And you could just ignore him, but we had a cool interaction. We're not friends now or anything, but it was just, for me, another example of why not take the chance to smile at the person, to say hi to the person. You just have no idea where it might lead. We went running yesterday. There was a club run, and I ran with strangers and spoke with them. And now I know them because I know they showed me I stay there. This is where my house is. Now I know where they live, I know their names. I'm going to see them again. I went to the store yesterday afternoon and I saw the other lady again. Now I know them. And it's just, why won't you do that? I think we've gotten so used to just being in our own little worlds where we isolate ourselves. And we know across most of the Western world at this stage, people have never been as lonely as we are now. And I think it is because we live with our heads down, looking at screens with headphones in, that doesn't allow us to really interact with the people around us. When I see the kids walking to school in the mornings, many of them walking with headphones on or earpods in. And that is an indication of, I'm not open to talking with you. Because if you have to stop somebody and get their attention and they have to take it out, it feels like you're intruding on their privacy in a way.
I think also leveraging on what you just said is something that I read recently where, and I can't remember exactly where I read it, but they were speaking about how to strike up a conversation, and specifically in a networking or a business context. And often people don't want to do it because of that fear of rejection, right? So what if I tell you about my product and you go, I don't want it, or my service, or whatever the case is. And this individual actually reversed it, and he said, maybe it's better, and he used an example where he was sitting across someone that had the potential to start a business or to do business with this individual. And he noticed he was reading a book, and he asked him, when you're done with that, would you mind if I borrowed it? And automatically they struck up a conversation, because the first reaction when people want to sell you things in this world, I mean, we have telemarketing phoning us literally every 3 minutes. Is no, just leave me alone. If I want something, I'll Google it, or I'll AI it, or I'll find it myself. And I think that was such a remarkable tool to, if you want to connect with someone, rather than always wanting to give or put something into the situation, maybe just ask for something in return, which I think speaks to two very vulnerable pieces of us. The one is our fear of rejection, and I think the second one is asking for something, because we're in the super independent, you have to do everything yourself world. And I think by just putting that, vulnerability on the table and saying, I'd love to read that book when you're done, or I noticed you were making a garden, what are you busy planting? Asking more than you're actually telling. I think that's a great way of connecting with people and making strangers friends.
We forget that we are built to be in groups, in tribes. It's absolutely true that, like you're saying, that there's so much focus on being independent and being able to do everything yourself. But people are not built that way. None of us have all the skills in ourselves to be able to function on our own. We need to leverage on each other, because people have different contributions, different skill sets. And we are just stronger when we can, like the Springboks Stronger Together is exactly that. We need to be in places, in groups where we feel like we belong and we feel safe, and we can ask for help when we need it.
And we're leveraging our strengths. I think that's the one thing that we notice. We work with companies all the time, and when we do a bit of a strength analysis and self-awareness with individuals, we notice that not the entire team doesn't have the same strengths profile. They've got different strengths, and the teams that perform the best have the most diverse set of strengths put together. But I think it's up to us to actually notice that we don't need to be the perfect profile. We don't have to figure it all out. It's okay for us to ask for help or to ask for assistance. Obviously, not to be silly about it, and just walk up to a random stranger and ask for help. But I mean, striking up a connection or having a conversation with a stranger is a great way of building new opportunities to get to know people or yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Self.
I was listening to a podcast last week. Simon Sinek was talking to Esther Perel. She's a relationship expert.
Mm.
And I think they have a perspective on life that we both share, in that they say the quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life.
Mm.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I know that when my most important relationships are healthy, my life is good, irrespective of the detail that might be within my life. It's never been perfect. There are always challenges and things that I would like solved already. But I know that if my friendships are strong, if my close relationships are strong, then life is good. Life just feels more manageable when you have people to rely on and when you know that there are people that genuinely have your back. Feeling lonely and feeling isolated when life is difficult is incredibly difficult and challenging. And I would not recommend that for anybody because it's not a battle that you can win, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's something that we often, and we speak to when we speak to the organizations, we speak to teams. I think it's one of the if a culture can manage to let people feel part of what they're doing quickly and getting them to really become, I want to say, one with the culture and the environment and find a best friend in their work environment as quickly as possible, then their onboarding is just gonna go so much quicker and so much better. We recently, I'm thinking about a specific client where we spoke to someone who joined and we asked what makes this place great. Why do you? And his words were, because I can ask for help. And I thought, well, that's amazing because that's exactly what you want in a culture, an organization. And it doesn't mean that you don't take responsibility to do what you're supposed to do, right? But it does mean that there's the comfort of being able to say, but I do belong here, and it's okay for me to ask a silly question or a dumb question, because these people know where I'm coming from. And I think that's what makes a good onboarding process, is when you can get your people from hero to there in as short amount of time as possible, then you're winning. Yeah.
I think that is a good quick chat.
Yeah.
Go out and talk to strangers.
Let's go.